In this tutorial, I'm going to review masking so that we can combine together pictures for double exposure. So I'm going to use the jar picture that we've brightened up a little bit and edited the background a little bit, and then I'm going to use this stock image of the male profile that we have in our server folder. So the first thing I want to do is place this picture in a layer on top of it. Then I am going to actually turn off the visibility of this picture and select the background copy layer with the jar, because this is where I'm going to take my selection from. Then I want to use the quick selection tool, which is, the shortcut is W, but not the magic wand. I want the one that has the little pixel selections around it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, Control plus, and I'm going to select just this area right here. Where I want this to be. So the magic wand will automatically show me a selection. I can hold down Alt and it'll push it the other way. I don't really want to keep this, so I'm going to select the jar right here, and then I'm going to unselect by holding down Alt and pushing it back the other way. I'm going to unselect the part that's not glass, and then I'm going to show you how to edit this a little bit with the masking. So some of you remember how to do this from the jar tutorial, but I want to select all of this and then I'm going to hit mask. So once I've done my selection, I'm on the layer, I'm going to hit mask. So this is the masked out section. It's like it has a stencil, so everywhere that's black on here it has a stencil so that you can't see the picture. Then you can see these checkerboards, which means it's transparent. And the only thing that's not covered up that still remains is this picture right here. So I'm going to double click the mask and view properties and click invert, and that will give me the edges of the mask like this. Okay, so you can actually paint and erase the edges of this mask out a little bit so that they show up better. So I'm going to use my brush tool in a solid white and a solid black. And I want a soft edged brush, so take the hardness over, and you can make the size a little smaller. And then you can change your opacity down a little bit and your flow down a little bit from 100. And we're just going to make these little edges a little softer right here. And I'm going to paint back in some of the glow that's on the side of this so that it looks a little bit more believable when we mask it together. Okay, you can also paint back in the clip that I took away, like once you see this little clip on the side, this little wire, you can paint it back in and just go over it a couple times until the clip shows up, and you can even zoom in closer and make that show up there. So if I turn this back on, we want to put this guy inside this mask. So I'm going to take the mask, it's on the same layer as the jar, I'm going to select the mask on the thumbnail, I'm going to drag it up onto the layer with the person and drop it, and I'm going to double click and invert. So the man should be now inside the jar, okay? But the picture is just cut out on top of the jar, it's not double exposed or anything. We have a bit of a problem in that the top of the man's picture has this different colored background than the background right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to erase that a little bit from the mask. So I'm going to add it in black. So we need to add that part to the stencil. So I'm going to on the mask, not on the picture. So if the picture is selected, it has these little white corners. The mask is selected as these white corners. I'm taking a black paintbrush because I want to add to the stencil. I'm just going to stencil out some of that background so that it starts to be a little bit softer on the edge. And you really want to get that part with the reflection. Get that back in there. Okay, so once we've done that, you can take this picture and change the blending mode to anything where you can put the guy inside the jar. Usually multiply is a good place to start, but I don't think multiply looks very believable at the bottom, so I'm going to have to use my blending brush down here a little bit to make him look like he fits in the jar. So now I have this man in the jar, like this. So that's how you edit the mask. So you can invert the mask by clicking on the properties. So it goes backwards and forwards. You can select the picture and change the blending modes. You can paint and erase the mask back in.